Good afternoon. I'm DeRay Ross of DeRay & Company. We do public relations, marketing, of course some crisis given the industry we're working in. I started the company 24 years ago, hard to believe. I'm a native Floridian, South Floridian, Miami actually, so I'm excited for this panel. And we've worked in the cannabis industry for 7 years now, so I feel like it's like dog years, so seven times seven.
Hey everybody, my name is Richie Proud. I serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Ianthus. We're located in 7 states across the country. We have 18 locations here in Florida. Excited about this panel. Started my career at Abercrombie & Fitch, moved up to Canada, worked for a female clothing company called Garage, so specialty retail has been my background before entering cannabis in 2019.
Brady Cobb, CEO, founder of Sunburn Cannabis, Florida local, and have focused all of my cannabis industry time in Florida. Founded a company called Bluma Wellness, which we operated as one plant. We sold that to Cresco Labs in 2021 and kind of been waiting for this moment. My background is as attorney, lawyer, lobbyist, so I'm very active in the Capitol for a long time, and excited to be here today to talk about a pretty monumental moment in Florida.
Hey, I'm Corey Azzolino. I'm the CEO of Ease, which includes Green Dragon. We are a 4-state MSO. We're the largest delivery platform in California. We have 17 retail stores in Colorado, and we just opened our 37th store here in Florida. And we also have a delivery business in Michigan as well.
Great, thank you. Brady, could you start with your background, give us kind of how we got to where we are today, through the medical market, and then your read on the language of the amendment and what it means for the industry?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been working on the constitutional side of things in Florida since our first attempt was 2014. So we missed by 1.8% in 2014. Usually those midterm elections, non-presidential elections, your biggest issues turnout, which is what that issue was. We came back 2 years later in 2016. Ben Pillara, Eric Stevens, who's walking around here somewhere from Florida for Care, did a great job in getting that amendment teed up. A lot of folks kicked in, and ultimately it went through in 2016. So when Trump carried Florida in 2016, we had 72% of the electorate check the box for cannabis, which was a bit more than I thought we'd get. Florida's a unique state. You need 60.1, so it's not the simple majority. So that was a pretty good tell. The reason we're here today, and it's, we don't always get along, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. The reason we're here today is Kim Rivers put one hell of a bet down and put her money where her mouth is and truly kind of led us to this moment. So kudos to Kim. We would not be in this situation, and they did a tremendous job this time around. The last 2 amendments failed because the people that were running them just didn't understand the court. The court hates constitutional amendments. The legislature has actually put bills in place to make them stricter and make it harder to make it happen. The biggest gating issue was trying to include home grow. And look, I'm a believer in home grow. I believe people should be able to use this plant how they see fit. They'll still come shop. They allow home beer brewing, and people still walk into a liquor store and buy beer. So I'm not worried about that level of competition, but from a true constitutional law standpoint, that was the problem that kept getting it kicked off. And they just weren't very well organized. Kim addressed both those issues. I would tell you that I think how the Supreme Court ruled on the abortion issue was a huge boost for this issue on a down ballot basis as you draw the voters out. Now you're going to have a whole class of voters that's going to come out to look to address that key kind of social issue. And if they vote in favor of protecting a women's rights to choose, it's a pretty reasonable conclusion to draw. They're going to look down ballot and be positive towards cannabis. So I'm bullish on the amendment going through. We built our business at, we'll be at 14 stores by the end of this month. So we built our business to be ready for either. I don't want to be the first guy off the boat when it hits the beach. I'm happy to be second or third or fourth. That's what we did this time. We didn't launch Sunburn until January of 23, and we've already carved out a nice market share. So we're going to be a fast follower, but ultimately I'm bullish on the amendment going through. And again, kudos to Kim and her team.
Thank you. And then Richie and Corey, I'm going to ask you both, what happens between now and November 5th for an operator in this space?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. We approach everything from crawl, walk, run, right? How do we take steps in the beginning that are going to lead us along the way to make better decisions? I think we're all looking at our operational footprint. We're looking at our cultivation space. We're looking how to take care of the medical patient. There's 900,000 patients in Florida. Florida has the #1 medical registrants. So we're looking how to take care of the medical industry. We're looking at our cultivation capacity. We're looking at innovation. We're wanting to figure out how to differentiate ourselves. There's over 600 stores currently existing in Florida. We're looking at the different geographical real estate to figure out where we should go. We're trying to place our bets accordingly because they're big capital-intensive moves that we need to make to be ready for adult use.
I think for us, it's, we have been very good at store openings. We opened 37 stores in the last 2 years. I think our internal target is to double that again, not necessarily by May 1st or July 1st, but really over the next 2 years to take that up to 75 plus stores. For us, we've been very production constrained, so we were really good at opening stores, very low cost. But we've recently just have lights arrive for our doubling of our cultivation capacity, so we'll go from about 32,000 square feet of canopy to 64. And then between now and July 1st, we're one of probably the few operators who has substantial expansion capacity in our production and grow. So we'll take that up to about 144,000 square feet of canopy. So we are, ready to place a big bet. We do believe it's going to get to 60% plus, but even in the event that it doesn't, we think our store footprint will still be able to support that capacity.
Thank you. And DeRay, you operate an ancillary business, work with a lot of operators. What are you advising them, and then how does this impact what you do over the next 6 months?
Sure. So we are, obviously, we're based in South Florida. I'm a native, as I mentioned, and the clients that we work with, yes, there's a huge focus in Florida, and that's what our panel is about, and we're very excited. But they still have a business to run. So in some ways, it's looking at it from two perspectives. One, we still have to make the business run. We still need to focus on our PR efforts, our marketing efforts, navigating the challenges that come up every single day. And so I think really leaning into the things that have made our clients successful, and then also figuring out, okay, we still have to keep doing that, but let's also think about, for Florida, obviously, specifically, what are we gonna do to ramp up? So cannabis has obviously been through a rough go here, and a lot of PR, marketing, LSM, local sales marketing efforts, sponsorships have been taken off the table by many clients. For many clients, I'm sure most of the panel would agree, it's not been easy. And so now's not the time to take the foot off the gas, if you will. And so I actually think it's time to ramp up more in Florida. I think this Benzinga panel here today probably agrees. But also, if you see the excitement here with this conference, this is very different from years past. And so you can see the excitement here. We're in Florida, but there are very many people from outside of Florida that want to tap into it. And so while we work with other businesses that provide their services to cannabis, it's not always an MSO or a plant-touching business, we're helping them ramp up their efforts. What are they going to do? And still making sure that they're speaking to thought leadership in the space.
Great, thank you. Brady, what do we see in terms of M&A between now and the election? Do we see activity, or are everybody going to hold on?
Look, I think you got to look at Florida. That OMMU report is kind of a unique thing to get every week. I live and die by it. The team lives and dies by it. So you can see there's, Trulieve with a clear lead, 140 plus stores going to who knows. We made a decision in the very beginning to not chase Kim. We went a different model. If she's going to be Walmart or CVS on every corner, we're going to go be Whole Foods. Less stores. Whole Foods services the state with 41 stores. I don't think anybody that's going to try to catch her is going to be able to. So there's a whole class of operators kind of below the top 3 or 4 that are going to be looking for a place to land. So I do think you're going to see some M&A, but I think if this was 2017, you would see M&A start now. Given that cannabis has been through the ups and downs, and the days of a bought deal for $50 million closed in 6 hours and funded, those are gone. Having just raised $82 million in this environment without a down round, I can tell you without question, those are gone. The bald spot I have will tell you those are gone. So I think you're not going to really see meaningful M&A until after it passes, because we're just too much in a show me market. Like I said, for us, we're built for a medical market. It's still a $2 billion medical market right now. There's plenty of market share to continue to go take. We're growing new patients at 28% month over month. So for us, it's a matter of anchor our business now, see what happens, and be ready to go build what we need to build. But one thing that's overlooked in this amendment process on the hype of the Supreme Court ruling and then now the vote, The real work, having worked on a bunch of these, is in a legislative session that would start in March of 2025, where they have to implement and update the statute to allow for adult use. That is where the fight is truly going to be, and we won't know what this market's going to look like until that we get through that process. You know, people are going to fight for wholesale, THC caps, daily purchase limits, what types of products are they going to zero in on, what types of interactions are they going to zero in on. So we still have a very Republican legislature. I'm close with the governor. We still have a governor who does not like the smell of weed, so we may have to get him some nose plugs or something. But ultimately, that's where the real fight's going to be, so I think M&A will be tempered until then.
Yeah, I think Brady brings up some interesting points because it's in that process post-vote where everything, the devil's in the details, right? It's everything is, are we going to get what we want? Is the governor going to push some different things? What are some of the things you think are going to be changed when the legislative process works its way through?
Wholesale will be one of them. I don't think we'll have a wholesale system where you would have actual brands, outside brands in other stores. I personally don't want that. I like the fact, I love a vertical market because it's an ultimate way to incubate and build a brand. It's how we've been able to build Sunburn as quickly as we can with the story. I think you're going to see THC limits pop back up. I think you're going to see, you know, my counter to THC limits is you can't put a 60% limit on distillate or derivative products. A lot of it tests what it tests when it comes out. For me to take it below that, I now have to introduce something, especially on solventless products, I got to introduce something that shouldn't be there from a patient health standpoint to hit that limit. So where I pivoted is like the Illinois style daily purchase limit to try to temper that a little bit. So those types of things I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see them play around with the cost of renewals again. I mean, it's already ridiculous at $1.3 million. I think they're going to potentially play with that a little bit, but it's going to be, I feel the same way about Florida's process as I do for rescheduling. The rescheduling announcement, we can all high five at the federal level. The devil's going to be in the details going through the next 2 years of rulemaking, FDA, et cetera. That's going to be where the real sausage is made.
Corey, what happens if it doesn't pass? What are operators going to do?
I'd like to answer that one too.
I think we've got time to do everybody. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think no matter what, you have to be, I mean, most companies within the Florida market in the medical market has the best situated medical market, period. So I think people are already set up to compete. Now what happens between now and then, if people place bets, as I've said, we're going to be doubling our store count irrespective. So we have a well-trodden model that, even at our, what I would consider pretty anemic sales levels right now, our stores are still profitable. So that's an important thing, right? For us, we just need to actual scale our production to be able to make sure that the entire state is profitable. So no matter what, the operators existing within the Florida medical market operate, fairly profitably. We have, I think a well-structured market here. And so while you might see, if additional supply comes online, you might see some price wars again. But even then, this is still the best market, hands down, across the country as a medical market. So I don't think, it would certainly be a setback. I think everyone should be excited. This will still be, I think, pending legislative session, the most exciting recreational market. But irrespective, it's a phenomenal medical market.
Agree in large part. I think you would see a tremendous amount of stores. So I would say bets are already being placed. Stores, if you look at the store ramp on that Omni report again, nice data that comes out every week. You look at the store ramp from basically the middle of 23 through present, there has been a tremendous amount of stores added. And you'd have to assume a lot of that is, premised on adult use, premised on wanting to have additional, scale for adult use. If it doesn't happen, I think you see that store count shrink again, which, I'd be personally licking my chops about because it's an opportunity to go steal additional share, which, if you are getting a patient in Florida right now, monthly growth is less than 0.5% month over month of new patients. So if you're taking patients and taking share, you're taking it from somebody else. So ultimately, if a bunch of stores disappear, that's why we've kind of built the business and we anchored the business to get to, positive EBITDA, FCF, so that we have the opportunity to tread water with our head above water, wait to see what happens. Because if it doesn't go, there's a whole nother class of patients to go take when a bunch of stores close, in my opinion. But we're all rooting for it to happen. I'm working behind the scenes, and again, Kim and her team and everybody that joined on that kind of Florida association, is everyone's putting their money where their mouth is and leaning in hard. So the goal is to make it happen, but I've seen this movie a few times. If you don't prepare for either side of it, we saw it in 2019 and 2020 when everybody thought federal government was going to legalize cannabis, and then they didn't. And then there's a lot of dead bodies on the road. So you kind of got to be ready for either scenario.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think that the position that we have as mid-level operators gives us the position to think about growth in a different way. And I think that for us is really exciting. The theme that you've heard a lot of us talk about is we have the ability to pivot either way. We're good whichever way this goes, but we're preparing for the best. And if it doesn't happen, I think we have carved out a unique environment to where we know who our customers are. We know the people that are attracted to our business. We know the importance of high quality products. Certainly, I think that capital investments provide greater innovation opportunities for the medical patients. And because the medical patients are so important, you want to make sure that there's constant innovation, constant new products being delivered, and that you can personalize that experience. And I think for us, that's what's most important, is how do we deliver a personalized experience for the consumer? I can do that either way, whether it's adult use or medical, but certainly keeping my attention focused on the medical consumer for the time being is what's going to keep us in the right mindset.
And I'd like to add, actually, and agree that yes, we will be okay. However, it will not be a fun PR story. It will not be a fun time. There will be a lot of moments of, oh goodness, let's get the narrative together. And so while we hope and really feel good about it, obviously preparing for the other side of it is not fun either, and certainly not something we want to think about, but we have to think about. And so, yes, we'll be okay because we have a great medical market, but it would be obviously much, much better if it goes through. But what happens if it doesn't from a PR perspective? We have media that have been here today that are so excited. The Miami Herald, NBC, the local affiliate that we've been working with, we have clients speaking to them, we invited them, and they're so excited about the coverage. And so from our stance at this point, it's still our job, me as a publicist, my team as publicists, to make sure that we're getting key marketing messages out there about cannabis and what could happen in a positive light. And so that's the work we're doing now, is we were trying to help change that, educate, change the perspective. And so that's the stuff we're working on now. But if it switches and it becomes that it didn't pass, then we've got a whole different ball game and a different strategy that we all will need to deal with on some level. But we have to be prepared for it.
So is that a national momentum story then, where everyone it says that this is a transition, a shift from where we've been headed?
I mean, potentially. I think it would depend on what do the numbers look like. If we miss it by, teeny tiny percentage, that's different from a landslide that it was a no. And I think we'll have to see what happens between now and then. And so there will be a lot of hindsight is 2020. I think stories and things of that nature. Certainly anybody who's against it is going to use it to their advantage, that they won or that, look, it didn't work. So there are a lot of narratives there, and I think we all have to ramp up, as we all are now, in advance and excitement and all of that, but also very carefully tread, because hopefully it never happens, and hopefully we look back on this and it's, oh my gosh, it was a slam dunk, but there's a real scenario where the narrative is very different for all of us to deal with and to handle and to speak about.
Thank you. So we're running out of time here. As Brady said, we have, is it 60.1 or 60 plus 1?
So it's 60.1. You need you got to clear 60%, and I think two things are in the tail. And wind in the sails. Obviously, presidential election. I think no matter what your party affiliation is, it's going to be a massive shit show. It's going to draw a lot of voters out that are going to want to participate, because it's all we're going to hear about for the next, we've been hearing about it for the last 2 years. We're going to hear about it for the next 6 months. So I think you have that, the way the abortion amendment was drafted. And the last thing you got to look at as a local down here, and I've watched it kind of transform, most of the net population gain we've gotten since COVID and how Governor DeSantis addressed COVID and kind of made this place where people wanted to move have come from states that have adult use cannabis already. So it's not going to be a foreign concept to them. It's not going to be a foreign concept to the voter. And with the amount of money that's been raised and Kim's commitment and everybody else chipping in, there should be enough of an educational programming out there that I think we have a really good shot at making it happen.
Well, and it's on President Trump's ballot, right? He has to vote on it out of Mar-a-Lago. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It's a swing state. It's a big deal.
Real quick, let's just go down the line on what percentage you think that this ends at. Now, obviously, nobody knows, and we're not going to hold you to it. Where do we end?
I'll go with 60 plus 1 and say 61%.
63.1, Price is Right style.
I think it's going to be a hair over 60%. It's the state where personal choice matters. There's personal choice issues on the ballot. I think it passes a little over 60%.
Well, I have to split the difference here, so I'm going to say 62.
If you were playing Price is Right, you could go 65 and you'd win.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, well, thank you so much. That concludes our time. Please join me in thanking the panel.